Hey, it's Mike with Tech PB, and we've got the Dangerous Power Rev-I here. This is one of these reviews that, you know, when I finally get it done and I finally get the gun tested out enough to do an honest review on it, it's one of these ones that it's just, I know that the amount of emails that I'm going to get is going to go down about 30% after I do this video. Ever since we did this video at World Cup with Ronan, oh God, I must get probably at least 6 or 7 people a day requesting the review on this gun. So we got it about a month ago, maybe a little over a month ago. We did some extensive testing on it, used it in some practices, used it in the woods, had a good time with it. Probably put about 8 or 9 cases through the gun, and we have finally come to the part where I feel comfortable doing a review on this gun. So let's go ahead, and I've already done the unboxing video on this, but let's go ahead and take it out of the box and go through it a little bit more carefully now. Now, one of the reasons why I was, you know, really wanting to put this gun through its paces is because generally it's easy for companies that are making expensive guns to go and make a budget gun, okay? Because they, you know, they've got a good handle on the technology. Just generally I've seen companies that start high and then go down. Generally their products work out a little bit better than companies that start in the budget category or in the mid-level category and go up. That is what Dangerous Power did here. Okay, obviously I've been a huge fan of Dangerous Power. Their guns have shot amazing. I sell the magnet trigger kits for it. I know it's a shameless plug, but I really like their guns. Started from the F7, great little gun. The F8, great little gun. The Threshold, amazing little gun. The G3, another amazing little gun. I've got one here, you know, just as a little show here. And all of those guns have run, you know, in the sub for maybe about the $500 range, I think, for the Threshold, you know, because it was a limited run. And then now they're jumping to the $850 range with the new Dangerous Power Rev-I. So obviously knowing that, you know, the G3 right now is one of their prize guns, jumping up to the Rev-I, people already have the expectation, you know, okay, we know what the G3 is capable of, and the G3 right now is selling for $300. Okay, what in the Rev-I box is going to convince us consumers to make that additional $550 jump from the G3 up to the Rev-I? So that's why I really took my time with this gun, going through and reviewing it. And you know, I gotta say that so far from using this gun, I've been very impressed with it at the $850 price range. Let's go ahead and open it up really quick, and let's talk about what comes into the packaging. Okay, first off, this is something that I really like. Now, even though most people with a barrel kit, and let me go ahead and raise this up, most people with a barrel kit, usually they're just going to take one barrel, use that, and move on. But for some reason, paint has been getting a lot smaller in bore in the past couple months, or in about the past year. I don't know if the paint companies are trying to underbore their paint to save on shipping. Maybe it's less in materials. I don't know. All I know is it seemed a year ago everything was boring at a 689, 690. Now everything's boring at like a 680. So this barrel kit really comes in handy. Now, obviously this barrel kit, I'd probably price this barrel kit, if you wanted to buy it, would probably be somewhere maybe in about the $100 price range. But it is nice to see this in a gun above the $750 price range. A barrel kit in here is definitely, you know, we're definitely thankful to see the barrel kit in here. What comes in the barrel kit? 685 barrel back, 689 barrel back, 693, and also comes with a 14 and the 16-inch barrel fronts. For the purposes of weighing the gun, I'm just going to go right down the middle and take the 14-inch barrel and the 14-inch barrel and the 689 back. Now, probably one of the most important tools inside of the Rev-I box is this tool right here. This is a 5/16 T-handled Allen key. This goes through the front of the gun to unscrew it. Don't ever lose this, okay? Why? Because I lost mine, and I went and bought one of these $25 Husky T-handle sets at Home Depot, and it didn't fit it. It wasn't long enough. So I had to call Dangerous Power up. Luckily, they've got great customer service, and they shipped me out another one. But, you know, that was a good, you know, week where I couldn't take the bolt out. And I wasn't using it at the time, but it's still very important. If you lose this, the first thing you need to do is call Dangerous Power and get another one. Very, very important. Inside here, what do we got? We got lube. We've got Barrel sock, warranty card, extra O-rings, another T-handled Allen key. Now, generally those are pretty expensive. It's got a nice little dog tag, barrel sock. So this is all really nice that this all comes in the box. You know, great packaging. And something else that I'm really excited about is the full-on color manual that comes on here. This is really nice, very, very detailed, very well thought out colored manual. It even shows you how to take apart the solenoid, which I don't recommend you do under pretty much any circumstances. That's like open heart surgery on your paintball gun. You don't ever have to take apart your solenoid unless it just stops working or you get a piece of debris in there. But it even shows you how to do that. Full-on flow chart on how to get through the manual, which is very important. I'm going to talk about the manual here in a little bit. But let's get the gun out here and let's put the barrel on it. And let's start talking about the gun just kind of in general. Now, if you read the manual, what it says here is that the gun they took some inspiration from the Ferrari Enzo, just kind of that swoop down front. That's what they took the inspiration from. Things you're going to look at, very low profile feed neck. This is very nice. See-through window, which is kind of cool. I don't think, there's really no other paintball gun out there that has a see-through window. It's got the Switchblade Trigger, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, and probably one of the best ASAs that come on any stock gun on the market right now. It's the RAPS ASA, which means Rapid Air Pressurization System. Basically, you screw your tank in, push that down, and you air it up. To degas your gun, you just flick it open like that. It's an amazing ASA, very, very well thought out, and it works great. Some cool things about Dangerous Power that a lot of people don't know about. Dangerous Power actually has the patent on the clamping feed necks. I did not know that until I talked to Tommy over at Dangerous Power. They actually own the patent on clamping feed necks, which is really, really cool. And also, this dump valve design, they have the patent on that also. So you'll see there are a couple other companies that are out there that have a dump valve design that are infringing on their patent. And there's definitely some legal ramifications to that. This dump valve design, which you can see, which is on a couple different guns that are out there. I believe the Geo is using it. I believe the Regency Chrome is using it. I'm trying to think. I think those are the only two off the top of my head I can think of that are using this dump valve system. That is patented by Dangerous Power. So it's definitely always nice to know who invented the technology, who took the time to patent it, who took the time to perfect it, and definitely Dangerous Power has done a great job with this. Now, the Switchblade Trigger. This is probably one of the first little sticking points that I've seen with this gun. It runs off of an attraction magnet. So basically what happens is the magnet is in the front of the trigger frame, and as you pull the trigger away from the magnet to click the micro switch, you'll feel the tension get less and less and less. You have to be very careful when you're setting up the trigger on the Dangerous Power Rev-I, because if you set it up too loose, then what happens is as you pull the trigger, as it pulls the screw away from the magnet, there's not going to be any magnet tension there. So I'm not a big fan of that kind of design. It brings me back memories to my Carnivore, which was, had the E1 trigger frame on it, and it was that same kind of magnet, that breakaway magnet. And that gun bounced like crazy. This gun, if you're not careful, will run away from you if you do not set your trigger up properly. I suggest you setting it up a little bit on the stiffer side, a little bit on the longer side. That way, when you pull the trigger, it has plenty of a snap to pull it back. But that's pretty much all I got to say about the trigger. The Switchblade Trigger works great. Did have one instance with this trigger, and I don't know how it happened, but we were at the NCPA and people were messing around with it, and somebody pulled the trigger really hard and actually separated it from there. So it's not magnetic, it's in there on a spring and ball bearing, so you can pivot it, but somehow somebody grabbed it and literally just yanked it out of there. So, if I've been spinning it and messing around with it, I've never had a problem since then. I don't think it's really a problem to worry about. But basically, when you get your Rev-I, don't try to pull the trigger away from the top piece here, okay? You will separate it if you really yank down hard on it. But that's what happened out there. Call Dangerous Power. They sent me out another one. It's not a big deal. Everybody was messing around with it. I guess just somebody just got the idea to yank on it. To adjust the trigger, it actually uses pretty much the same type of adjustment cones that like the DM uses. So you've got your pre-travel, your post-travel, and your magnet tension. Your activation point is fixed on this, so you just have to adjust it around where your activation point is. Very cool little trigger. I typically tend to like it with the bump facing out for semi-auto, and I typically like to face it in the flat blade style for ramping because it just makes it a lot easier when I'm just shooting with one finger. Easy to slide. It's got a rail at the bottom so you can slide it back and forth. Definitely a completely feature-packed paintball gun. Let's see what some of the other things. Let's talk about the OLED board that's in here. The OLED board in here is actually programmed by Ape. Okay, now Ape, I've known them. They're based out of Tampa. Great group of guys. They do things a lot differently than the traditional paintball board manufacturers that are out there. Okay, all the board manufacturers over here, and Ape is somewhere over here. Okay, they just do things differently. And basically what I'm trying to say is that this board has a very steep learning curve. Probably the steepest learning curve I've ever seen out of any paintball board that's come on any paintball gun yet. Very, very steep learning curve. It is going to take you quite a few days of practicing, messing around with it, calling Dangerous Power if you have any questions, going back and messing around with it in order to get the hang of it. You know, I've got a really good handle on this board, but it's definitely got a learning curve. It gives you more adjustments and more things to tinker with and more things to mess around with than any other board that I've ever seen out there. Something else about the board too, and you know, this is up to your own moral judgments or whatever. Board does have some very, very blatant cheater modes that are in there. Now, it's up to the individual person whether you want to turn on the cheater modes, but the board definitely has some pretty intense cheater modes that are on there. And not only are the cheater modes in here, but they also auto clear. So you can actually set it to auto clear, meaning you can start your gun up with the cheater mode active, and then after you're done and the cheater mode disables, even if you turn the gun on and power cycle it, it auto clears it out. So pretty sneaky little cheater mode that's inside here. Now, doesn't make it a bad gun? No. And obviously, you know, if it's in there and you have the capability of using it, do you have to use a cheater mode? No. But I just want to definitely make a mention that it is in here. Now, what some of the things that you can do with it is, let's say PSP, 10.5 balls per second. You can actually set it to add 3 or 4 balls per second for the first 2 or 3 seconds that it's on, and you can also have it to start after a specific amount of trigger pulls. So you can say after the 6th trigger pull, I want it to add 5 balls per second for 3 seconds and then auto clear, and then when you power cycle the gun, it won't do that again. So basically, first 6 seconds I go up, I chrono the gun, chop, 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 I shoot a couple times, I'm still, you know, okay. Then the game starts, the gun ramps up to like 16 balls per second for 3 seconds, then goes back down to 10.5. If the ref goes and pulls the gun, power cycles it, there's nothing there. It still shoots at 10.5 seconds. You can also do it in semi-auto. You start the game off in XL, 13, 14 balls per second. Then after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many seconds you want to set it at, then it'll drop back down to straight semi-auto. If the ref goes over and clears it, it's got auto clear and it wipes it out. I don't care. It's up to you whether you want to use the cheater modes out there. There's other ways to cheat other than that. But I definitely want to make a mention in there. That's probably one of the most aggressive cheater boards I've ever seen inside of a gun, or cheater modes inside of a stock gun I've ever seen. I mean, it's pretty aggressive and nearly impossible to catch. But, you know, people have had cheater boards of their guns for a long time. They've got in there and hacked it, whatever. But it puts you on that playing field that if you wanted to run some sort of cheater mode with this gun, it definitely has the capability to do it both in semi-auto and in PSP. So, really, really cool. Also, the board is also an OLED board, okay? I think probably one of the few guns that have hit the market in the past couple months, or probably period, that have come stock with a bone stock OLED board. You know, the MacDev Cyborg also comes with an OLED board, but you know, it is a very, very nice OLED board. The only thing that's a little bit off on the OLED board is it has an LED light in there to indicate when there's a ball in the breech and when you're programming it and stuff like that, but there's no little hole on the grip to see it. Okay, now you can kind of see it off to the side of the window, but I think with the LED, some sort of LED indicator, they would have some sort of little hole in the grip. Maybe in the second revision, it's not here on this one. So here's what we'll do. Let's go ahead and bring the camera in a little bit closer. We're going to take the gun apart really quick. Very, very simple. We'll put in the silver window. We'll take apart the regulator really quick. And then what we'll do is we'll take it out and do an efficiency test and come back for the conclusion. First thing we'll do is unscrew the barrel. Now, I had somebody one time call in on TechPB Radio asking about, is it possible for the T-handled Allen key to scratch up the breech when you're trying to put it down there? Honestly, I don't see really how that's even possible because, as soon as you put it in there, it just goes inside of the bolt. So, unless you're like trying to, use a hammer and try to hammer it out the gun, I really don't see how it's possible to scratch up the breech if you just take the Allen key and just drop it into the gun. But somebody one time called in on TechPB and asked, would you see, putting the Allen key in through the front being a problem? But I really don't. I mean, people have been doing worse than this with their shockers for years, trying to hammer out the bolt and the firing can and this, that, and the other. You don't have to do any of that with this. All you do is just take it, drop it right down the center. There you go. And then all you do is just, you tighten it and you screw it right out the back. So there it goes. Now once it comes out, the dump valve is one of the easiest bolts, easiest guns to maintain ever. I mean, there's nothing to this bolt whatsoever. If you're, mechanically inclined, which a lot of paintball players are, there's nothing to this bolt whatsoever. You got the back cap and the bolt, and that's it. And basically how it works is air comes in here, fills across the top. When it shoots, it pops out and all the air goes around the dump valve, boom, right out the bolt, and then the solenoid comes and closes it back up again. Very, very simple. Absolutely nothing to this bolt whatsoever. You got 1, 2, 3 O-rings, 4 O-rings. That's it. 4 O-rings. So, very easy to lube. Basically all you do, take whatever your favorite lubricant is or the Dangerous Power lube that comes in it. Give it a nice little coat. It's on the O-ring there, a little bit across the back here on the inside. Put it back together. That's it. You just maintained your bolt. Okay, so to reinsert the bolt, just put the little clear window back in there. Slide the bolt back in. Take the Allen key, slide it in through the front. You're basically unscrewing it but putting the gauge back in. And then just give it a nice little snug. And you're good to go. I definitely recommend, you don't have to tighten this too hard, but definitely give it a good little snug. There we go. Now what we'll do, let's go ahead and take apart the regulator. That's good. Obviously when you do this, you want to make sure that there is no air pressure in the gun. Okay, first thing you do is unscrew the little top piece here. That pops off. Now this is mostly all you have to do here is just unscrew this top piece. Let's go ahead and drop out the piston. Okay, it's almost done. There it goes. Out comes the piston. This is about all you really truly have to service on the gun. You can't take off the swivel if you want to and take out the adjustment nut, which has got the reg seat down at the bottom. But this is the biggest part that you have to service. That's all you got to do here. Take a little bit of lubricant, put it on your O-ring, put it on that O-ring, maybe take it on the inside here, just clean it all up, make sure there's no dirt or anything. Take it, put it back into the regulator. Push it down. Screw in the top half. And that's it. You've just serviced your regulator. It's very, very easy. Take it. Screw it back into the gun. And you are all set. Now what we'll do, since we've got the camera already set up nice and close, let's go ahead and weigh it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the barrel back on here. Let's go ahead and turn the gun on. So you guys can see that there is a battery in it. There we go. Turns on. Okay, we're zeroed out. 2 pounds, 0.4 ounces. 2 pounds, 0.4 ounces. So hopefully you can see that. Very, very lightweight gun. Very cool. So here's what we're going to do. Let's take it out to the field and do an efficiency test, and we'll come back in for the conclusion. Tech PB, and we're about to do the efficiency test on the brand new Dangerous Power Rev-I. What we got is we got a tank that's filled up to about 4,000 psi. We got pods of paint in there, and basically what we're going to do, I'm going to take the camera off the tripod. We're going to come over and do a quick temperature reading of the tank. And a lot of people ask, why do you do a temperature reading of the tank? Well, the reason why is the first time I started doing this, people started asking, well, what's the temperature of the tank? So let's see what the temperature is of this tank. It is summertime, so it's a little hot outside. 121 degrees is the temperature of the tank. Let's take a look at the gauge. Hopefully you should be able to see that the gauge is sitting just under 4,000 psi. So let's go ahead and set the camera up here. What we're going to do is we're going to shoot a couple over the chronograph. Go ahead and turn it on. And now what we're going to do is we're going to load up our first pod. Set our pod over here. And turn on our loader. Let's go ahead and shoot. Let's see where we're at. Oops. 296, 300, 293. So you should be able to see that. So it looks like we're sitting right around about 290 feet per second. So let's go ahead and set the camera back up. Slide it on here, get a good view, and we'll start shooting. So it's starting to die. Well, let's see how low we can take this. Looks like we're sitting probably just under 100 psi right now, so let's keep trying. It looks like that's about all we're going to get out of it. That was interesting. This gun pretty much shot the tank completely dry and was still cycling. I wouldn't say we got much out of that last pod, maybe a third of this pod. So I'm going to set this over here with the gun. Let's count them. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. About a 7 and 1/3 pods with the Dangerous Power Rev-I at about 120 degree tank temperature, sitting at about 3,800, 3,900 PSI. Thank you. So as you guys saw, pretty good efficiency out of the gun. I will conclude the video by saying that this gun's a little bit deceiving when you actually shoot it, okay? It feels and looks like a spool valve, but when you shoot it, it actually shoots a lot like a poppet, just in terms of how it shoots. It's, when I'm out there, when I have it in my hand, I'm like, okay, yep, this is a spool valve gun all the way. But then when you're shooting it, it just feels like a poppet. So just the way in its sound signature and stuff like that. So when you purchase this gun, it's not that that you get with a poppet valve. It's a very clean, crisp pop, pop, pop that you get. It probably has a lot to do with how fast this bolt cycles. But, I gotta say, I really think Dangerous Power just really hit it out of the park with the Rev-I. I mean, look at all the features that you get with this gun for $850, okay? Great packaging, great manual, barrel kit, interchangeable trigger. You don't like the blade style? Go with the Sith style. It's got a cool little reg on it. The gauge in the back, which is so ingenious. It just, there's no gauges on the side. You don't have to put in a pressure tester or anything like that. You got the gauge right in the back. Set your pressure exactly where you need it. It's got a great clamping feed neck. Holds on for dear life to the loaders. It's got a wraps ASA OLED board. Even's got cheater modes in it if you want to have fun with those. The see-through window, which is just, it's a cool little gimmick. I love the little see-through window. You can see your bolt firing when you're going. As what Kitty said, that gun is a little too distracting for her. If you're one of the people that have, OCD, where as you're shooting, I mean, you definitely see the bolt going back and forth when you're shooting it. You see the gauge, fluttering a little bit when you're shooting it. But I really think Dangerous Power knocked it out of the park with this for $850. This gun is absolutely loaded with features. Many of the other guns in that price range do not have half the features that this gun does. From all the times that we shot it, we did not break a single ball. The eyes work great. The Delrin detents work great. They're spring loaded. I mean, everything about this gun has just been impressive. It's lightweight, looks great. It's got a bunch of cool things in it. I mean, for $850, I really think Dangerous Power knocked this gun completely out of the park in terms of performance. I mean, I was very impressed with this gun. So that's about it for the Dangerous Power Rev-I review. I know everybody's been waiting since World Cup. Believe me, if you've got $850 burning a hole in your pocket and you're looking for a good gun in the sub $1,000 price range, you have to look really hard to find a gun that's going to beat this one in terms of features. It's just an absolutely really cool gun to go out there and use. So hopefully this helps. If you guys have any questions, stop in the Tech B forums and post up the information. Post up your questions. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for tuning in.